So what are the 7 questions? You'll have to find out, but that's what we're talking about. Because from a marketing standpoint, if you answer these 7 questions leading into any marketing that you attempt to do, any campaign, you will be so much better off than the average bear. We're going to go over learning the questions. We're going to go over how to apply them to your firm or your future firm. We're going to help you make more money in less time and ultimately be happy and live a life. So if you zoned out after I'm done with this question, fine, but we had to start number one as the most important one. Who am I trying to market to? And I think the obvious answer is clients, but maybe it's current clients, maybe it's potential clients, maybe it's centers of influence, people that know a bunch of people in the area, maybe it's families of clients, maybe it's referral sources. Like that's the first thing you want to look for, because that's going to change what you say, how you say it, and ultimately who you say it to. So who am I trying to market to? If it's clients, I want you to fill out this ideal client avatar sheet. You can get this at the end. I've got a QR code. You can download it. You'll get all the slides. You'll get this. You'll get some other freebies that we'll talk about as we go through. But this is the most important thing that I ever did with my firm, is I got really, really, really clear about my ideal client avatar. We've got 2 people in here who want to get into criminal defense work. That's what I started as. I was a prosecutor. Don't hold that against me. Then I went into criminal defense. And at first I was like, anybody who could pay my bills. And so I signed up for a bunch of terrible marketing, and I said yes to a bunch of bad ideas. And I went to, the wrong groups and whatnot. So it's 30 questions that I have learned that are super helpful. It starts with like the area of law and the legal need. So we talked about, either post-conviction stuff, state criminal defense, and then obviously IP or environmental issues. Then at the top, we've got the demographics of the person. So I suggest give them a name. I like Marvel Comics, love a good alliteration. So it might be Cindy Criminal Defendant. It might be Ivan IP Neater, like just, be funny with it. But like the more you actually put this avatar together, the easier it is for you to speak to them. Right now, I run a PI firm. I am not my ideal client. So I have to completely think differently than what I like. Whereas from my coaching business, where I help other lawyers run better practices, I am my ideal client. So I just get to do whatever I want. And that may apply for you in one of those 2 ways. So this is to help you really dive into who you're working with. So once we get through the demographics, then we start going to like, what do they do in their normal day? So for me, we like working with PTA parents and blue collar professionals for car accident cases. So what do they do in their normal day? A lot of my clients are dropping their kids off or picking their kids up from school. So if I was going to run radio ads, I don't necessarily care about rush hour traffic. I care about when is school break. It might be a lot cheaper for me to run an ad at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when my client's sitting in the school line when to pick up their kid, instead of at 4 o'clock when it's rush hour and everybody else wants a time slot. Also, for those of you doing IP, your clients are probably getting together in some different organizations. If it's industry specific, if it's a business owner thing, if it's a group that is interested in, AI and what's coming down the pipeline, are they hanging out in those groups? Great place for you to go. For criminal defense, maybe your client is in the not so nice part of town, and so you want to get bus benches there. Maybe your client is a student who gets, underage possession of alcohol or misdemeanor marijuana, and now like you can go do something at the local college and whatnot. Like really think about this stuff. So other important things to think about, like what do they want? What do they want to avoid? Because I promise you, we're going to go into this a little bit more detail. Nobody actually wants to hire any of us. They don't want to hire you. They don't want to hire me. Nobody wakes up in the morning and is like, it'd be really great to give multiple $1,000s to a lawyer right now. Instead, they have a problem or an outcome that they're trying to get. For IP, they're trying to make sure they've got the protections that they need to make sure that this product works, to make sure nobody steals the name, to make sure the logo gets kept. From a criminal defense standpoint, they don't want to go back to jail or not for too long or have a criminal record, whatever. Like really think about what matters to your clients, because it's going to help you craft your message in the way that makes the most sense to them. We don't have anybody here who does estate planning, but I love estate planning for this question, so I'm going to use it anyway, because there's really 2 kinds of clients for estate planning attorneys. Either it's that new parent who needs an estate plan for the first time, or it's that older person who's got some wealth and wants to make sure they can pass it on to the next generation the right way. Same offering, same trust package, same will, same whatever, completely different marketing. Because, that new parent that now is going to fall in love with Target versus that 60-year-old who just wants to make sure everything's in place before they pass away or have to go to a home or whatever it is, like they're in different places. They're looking for different things. They're expecting different things from their attorney. So it will drastically change, even though they might be buying the same product. They're going to sell it from or buying the same service. They're going to buy it from a much different person for a much different reason. What else do they want that's relevant to my legal services? I think this is a great marketing thing. So from a criminal standpoint, a lot of times they're going to want something to seal or expunge whatever your state allows for. Maybe they want to get their voting rights back when this is done. Like there's things that are tangentially related to it. From an IP standpoint, potentially they want some sort of business coaching, some sort of business formation documents that will overlap with what they're trying to use the IP for. Like think about what other legal or quasi-legal things also touch your clients, because you may offer some sort of crazy all-inclusive package that you make more money and the client gets better help and the problem is actually solved. For example, like I wrote a book that launched in April 1st as not an April Fool's joke. Publishing a book, writing a book, marketing a book are all very different things, and nobody I have found does all of them. So it was like I had a publisher, and then we had Amazon for fulfillment, and then we had to go hire a whole marketing company for it. And it was super complicated. And I wish one person just did all of it, or one company. You may have clients thinking the same thing. You might actually be able to sell them more things, charge them more money, and still make them happier because their problem is truly solved. Instead of just the one issue they think they have, you are addressing everything that they need. Does that make sense? Cool. What other options do they have to solve their problem? So obviously like AI and LegalZoom and potentially the mediation that you talked about for environmental stuff, Autumn. Like there might be other opportunities. It might be other lawyers. They might be able to handle the case themselves. They might be able to do nothing and just see what happens. Probably not going to work in criminal defense, but certainly in estate planning, like nobody is looking forward to death. So they can put that off for a while. So really think about like what other options do they have to solve this problem? And then like who are their enemies? So for me in PI, it's the insurance company. For criminal ones, you all have my favorite answer, because I think some of your clients think that their enemy is the state. Sometimes it's the cops, sometimes it's the victim, ultimately, sometimes it's themselves. And so knowing that fact really helps you craft your messaging, because it helps you solve what is truly the problem. You know, if you're working with people that are only in front of you because they don't have enough money to afford whatever random administrative issue they violated, or they couldn't stay in an apartment because they couldn't afford it, so they didn't get their mail, or they've got a drug problem, like you may be able to actually help them solve that underlying issue while you're helping them through the current case, knowing who the enemy is. And then what are the top 3 immediate goals my service can help them achieve? Most of our clients have no idea what to expect. I mean, like for personal injury, there's a bunch of billboards with lawyers got me, millions of dollars. So maybe clients expect that. But like for criminal defense, are they expecting to not go to jail for the rest of their life? Are they expecting to not go to jail at all? Are they expecting to not become a convicted felon? Are they expecting to figure out how to bond out of jail? Like there's so many different options. So knowing like those small wins that you can give them in the beginning becomes really helpful to them, and helping to get them to trust you as the case goes on. Whether the case takes 60 days or 6 months, or I've got cases for 5 or 6 years. Sometimes like you need some of those quick wins so the client can trust me when we're saying, hey, look, like you're going to treat and get surgery and do recovery for that for the next year. We're not really going to worry about your case because we don't want to get you an amount of money. Come to find out the surgery didn't help and now you need more. So help them through some of those immediate things. And then the last one on this first page, 3 reasons to hire me. Last I saw, there were 1.3 million lawyers across 400,000 law firms. Why should this client hire you? Why are you the best fit for them? Is it the way that you do things? Is it the background that you have? Is it the specialization? Obviously, like, I don't know how many people do the environmental law stuff like Autumn, but from a criminal defense standpoint, like for Richard and Marley, what sets you apart? Are you the one who specializes in first-time offenders going through the process? Are you the one who specializes in serious cases? Richard, you talked about going all the way up through post-conviction relief. So you may be one of the few lawyers that can help them throughout the entire criminal process. Like really think about those unique selling propositions. Why you? Sometimes it's the price. Sometimes, we have new law firms, we do things for less money. You want that to not be your unique selling proposition as quickly as possible. Like keep the lights on, keep your family fed, keep the opportunity to practice and stay in the game. But like price should not be your unique selling proposition as early as possible. Questions about the ideal client avatar sheet. And you could do the same thing for referral sources. From an IP standpoint, maybe it's people that work at the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe it's people that Maybe it's business lawyers from criminal defense. Maybe it's bondsmen. Maybe it's anger management therapists, drug counselors from environmental stuff. I don't know if there's a regulatory agency that can push people to a law firm or give them some advice. I don't know who people go to, but this is where I would start for every campaign. And when I say campaign, like you going to a bar event to network with people is a campaign. Like figure out who you really are trying to talk to, whether it's the referral source that you are looking for, or whether it's telling people about your ideal client so they can keep you in mind for the right things. Any questions so far? Now's your speak now or forever hold your peace, like a wedding. All right. So question 2, we're going to go a little bit more detail about where are your ideal clients or ideal referral sources. So the first thing is, where are they right now? That's why we had on that question, like, what are they doing in their normal day? Is there a location where a bunch of them are getting together? Is there a group that they're in? Is there an online platform that they are on? If you are working with business owners, LinkedIn's probably much better than Instagram. If you're working with people who are a slightly older demographic, Facebook's probably better. A slightly younger demographic might be TikTok. Like, where are they right now? And then where are they going to be when they need a lawyer? Are they going to, do they even know they need a lawyer? Like that's what I think is crazy about a lot of like the toxic tort stuff. A lot of people don't know that they were exposed to contaminated water until lawyers go through and figure out who used to live in the area and do the direct mailers and put the billboards up by the lake and whatever else. So if they know they need a lawyer, they were arrested, they were in a car accident, they have a lawsuit for a patent or trademark infringement, like where are they going? How are they going to find a lawyer? Are they going online? Are they going to check their mail? Are they, what are they going to do? Or are they going to talk to somebody? The best cases I got when I did criminal defense were close to UCF, which is the second largest college in the country. I got great cases from UCF. I wish I had thought about that intentionally from day one. I sort of like fell backwards into it. But like a lot of those people, they went to their academic advisor. They went to one of their teachers. They went to one of their friends. So I went and talked to a lot of the fraternities and sororities. So like the freshmen and sophomores who got in trouble would go to the seniors asking about lawyers, and I had represented them and they were still in school. So like there was an easy way to get a benefit over there. Are they going to go to another lawyer? That estate planning attorney who's looking for people who are worth $10 million or more. I promise you that person has a financial advisor that they've used. That person has a business lawyer they've used. That person might have a family law lawyer they use for a divorce. Like they might go that way. So think about this, because now we're going to use this information to figure out where you need to show up, whether that's in person, whether that's through ads, whether that's through direct mail, whatever that's going to be. But like, who are they and where are they? That's going to help you get in the right place. So the benefit of these questions at the very beginning is you can say no to things. If you are the estate planning lawyer looking for somebody who's worth $10 million or more, that person's probably not going to Google and typing in like cheap estate planning lawyer or I need a will. Like that's probably not the way that they're searching. So it's easy to say no when you get pitched by a PPC company, a pay-per-click company. Whereas for criminal defense, a lot of people are not going to their neighbor and being like, hey, I just got arrested for a DUI. Can you help me out? Those people might be more likely to go to Google. They might be more likely to search online. They might be more likely to be advertised to. Does it make sense? Any questions? All right. So a little bit about social media platforms. Like I talked about, Facebook, you've got a slightly older demographic. It's really good for any kind of linked content. You can do video on Facebook. You've got threads, which now show up on Facebook. You've got reels on Instagram, which also show up on Facebook. Like you have the most opportunity to do whatever sort of advertising marketing you want there. You can have a personal page, you have a business page. Instagram, it's one page, although you can still have them, but like they're not linked the same way they are on Facebook. But a little bit younger, more creative audience doesn't have to be images, but for the most part, you're talking images and video. Yes, there are captions, but like people aren't really reading captions on Instagram. LinkedIn tends to be older, tends to be more business friendly, tends to be more text-based, although some of my best performing things on LinkedIn are video because nobody else uses video on LinkedIn. So just something to consider. And then, YouTube, which is the second most searched platform on the internet after Google, and Google and YouTube are the same, or are both Alphabet companies. So you got more long form video, although you do have YouTube Shorts, which is YouTube's attempt to knock off TikTok, which is the next one. TikTok's adding slightly longer video, but still short video, not images, not text-based. And they are getting a lot better about their geo-targeting. Like they're doing a much better job getting stuff to show up in the geographic area. Like if you only want to help people in a couple counties, TikTok used to be terrible for it because it would show your stuff everywhere. It's gotten better about figuring out how to get them more located. And then Twitter, X, whatever it'll be called by the time we next go to it, if it still exists, a lot more text-based. And then you got hashtags for different conversations. So please, 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 I do not know your state's ethics rules. Florida has like really terrible ones. They're very draconian. So like there's probably an argument that if you posted something on Twitter or X looking for clients and you hashtagged it, that could technically have to be an advertisement in Florida because it would go to people that don't have a prior existing relationship with you. So just make sure you are up on what your state requires. Most other states don't care nearly as much as we do. Oregon's got some crazy rules. I don't know a ton about Colorado. So do not violate any of your ethical rules in the name of marketing. It is not worth it. Last thing about social media platforms, you are better off being more involved on fewer platforms. So I listed 6 here. You don't need to go to these 6. You definitely don't need to go to all of them. I have clients that did a great job on Reddit. I've got clients that did a great job on Pinterest. Like just think through the methodology of, is my client on this platform? Is the type of person who's my client or great referral source or somebody I want to meet? Like, are they the type of people on this platform? That's going to give you the best shot at getting in front of them. But at the same time, I want you to think about the best way to talk to your client or your referral source, whoever you're trying to target. So from written, are you making blog posts on your website? Are you doing text ads? Are you doing text posts? Are you writing a book? Are you doing written posts? If it's audio, are you having a podcast? Is it radio ads? Are you doing audiograms? If it's video, is it a live show? Is it how-to videos? Is it commercials? Is it TikTok videos or reels? Is it webinars? If it's images, is it banner ads? Is it IG posts? Is it infographics? Is it carousels and slide decks? Does anybody want me to go deeper on any of these options? I just want you to kind of think through how you're going to get the message out there. But if you want me to go deeper on any of them, I will. Okay. Just don't call it a PowerPoint anymore. It's a carousel or a slide deck. If you say a PowerPoint, everybody knows you're over 40. So, all right.
I had one question.
Yes, absolutely. Autumn, let's go.
Yeah. I follow some spoken word artists, and I get like I'm on their mailing list, so I'll get like, does that work in terms of business? I mean, it works for artists obviously because I'm reading their stuff. I know when their next performance is. I'm reading their content. I'm following their life. But is that a good way to do it, like with specific mailing lists?
So yes, if your client is going to read emails on a consistent basis or a newsletter that gets mailed to them or something like that. The issue that most lawyers have who complain about how a waste of time their newsletter is, they're not making it valuable to the client or to the reader. Like they will send an email blast. We got this gigantic verdict. We just had this great success. We, us. We're awesome. And no one cares. As opposed to like when we do a newsletter, we'll highlight a blog post or a video, but we think it's something like 10 law changes in Florida. And then we'll do like 30 events next month in Central Florida because we target a lot of families. So like good family friendly events in the area. So there's the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot. There's this, there's that. So now I hope someone's going to read it and it's going to have value to them as opposed to it being like, our firm's great. Look at us. We're so wonderful. That's the biggest issue that lawyers have with those. So like for anybody working with businesses, I think you have a better shot on the B2B. You're going to give them some legal update that impacts their business. You're going to give them some tax advice or something that overlaps with, business finances in some way that makes sense for you. For true business lawyers, I just tell them, look, put together the 12 documents that every business owner needs and do a month on each. So this month we're talking about vendor agreements. Next month we're talking about, I would say non-competes, but now non-competes aren't a thing. So next month we're talking about employment agreements. And then week after that, we're talking about, non-disclosure of trademark material or something. Mike can correct me if I'm using the wrong lingo. But at the same time, like make sure you want to create that and you can do it on a consistent basis. I think at least once a month, maybe if you send it in person, quarterly is fine. I'd still probably do a digital version at least every month. I send a newsletter every week, and that's where I get basically all my coaching business from. I guess that and Facebook, because every week I'm really trying to do like a 5-minute article that I think is super helpful. And then people implement half of it or want to take the next step and hire me to work with them one-on-one. For you, from an environmental standpoint, there may be of interest, like what's of interest to your client, what's going on in the community, what's going on in the national parks. Is there, what hikes are closed? I don't know exactly what it would be, but like think along those lines. What would they actually read every week, every month, every couple months, and make it about them, which is a little bit on like, and then, our firm can help with whatever if you're struggling with this.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So then we have who they are, we have where they are, we have the best way to talk to them. So now I want you to create in your head this Venn diagram, right? So there's content they will consume the most of. And again, I don't care if it's a pay-per-click ad. I don't care if it's a social media post. I don't care if it's you meeting them at a networking event. I want to say, like, what content do you like doing the most? If you don't like writing video, or if you don't like writing blog posts, don't put a whole blog post strategy. Don't do a newsletter. Like Autumn said, if you hate being in front of the camera, don't go on TikTok. Like, don't make that your thing. Look for where those things overlap. What do you like doing? What is your ideal client or ideal referral source going to like consuming? And what's the Venn diagram overlap between those things? That's where you're going to find the most success, because you're going to be willing to put in the time and the effort. If you hate your marketing, it's not going to go well. Like, I can tell people who hate doing video that try to do video, and it's just not there. You can tell when somebody mailed in a newsletter or an article. You can tell when ChatGPT wrote the blog post. Like, you can tell when they don't care. So find the stuff where you will, because that's where you're going to see a ton of success. And if you don't see success, it's where you're going to stay in the game long enough to find success. All right. Any questions? All right. Again, no one wants to hire a lawyer. They want a problem to go away, or they want to avoid a problem from ever coming up. So what problem are you really solving? What are you really doing for them? Bankruptcy attorneys might be resetting someone's debt to get their life back on track. My clients, I think, my ideal clients want to get back to full health after an accident. They do not just want a giant check. Although there are plenty of personal injury clients who that's all they care about is the money. Criminal defense clients want to be there for their family. They want to never go through the system again. They want to only do 6 months in jail instead of a year. I don't know. Like, really think about the problem that you are solving for your clients, because I promise you, it's not what you think it is. So they've got this thing like ask why 5 times. Like, this was behind schedule. Why? Because we didn't staff enough people. Why? Because we had a budget issue. Why? Because we didn't sell enough product. Why? Because we didn't market well enough. So like, why do they need me? Okay, they got arrested. Okay, well, why did they get arrested? Because they were in the wrong place at the right time. Okay, why? Because they were trying to be cool and hang out with the bad group of people. Okay, why? Because their home situation isn't that great. All right, cool. So now, like, I'm trying to solve the problem of allowing them to get comfortable with their life so that they can have a better home situation. For IP, why do they need this trademarked? Because they don't want somebody else to steal it. Why? Because it's going to hurt them from a business standpoint. Why? Because they have a unique product or service or whatever it is. Why does that matter? Well, because innovation's key. That's, the America was built on the back of innovation and then taking advantage of people to do it. But, it's a fine line. Anybody want to go deeper on their specific problem that they are solving? All right, cool. So this is also on the ideal client avatar sheet, but why me? Or why? Yeah.
My mute was on. If we go back to the last slide, do you mind diving into mine a little more from your perspective? Because I have a really hard time turning the legal reasons into functional business and desire reasons. And let me tell you, when people are first starting off, they really don't want to pay attorneys. So.
Absolutely. No one. Doesn't matter if they're starting. I promise you, I don't think Bill Gates wants to pay attorneys. Elon Musk definitely doesn't want to pay attorneys. So, but they do, because there's some balance where we win the balance. So pretend to be a client. Pretend to be one of your clients.
Okay.
Why the last person that reached out to you, why? Don't violate any confidentiality, but give us a broad stroke here.
Sure. So they've been in business for quite some time, and for just whatever reason have never incorporated themselves and have gone by a similar name for about as long. So they're kind of, now that they're getting into frying bigger fish, so to speak, they're very concerned about, running afoul of any intellectual property laws or being held liable from their own personal bank account, since that's how your business runs when you're solo or sole practitioner, rather.
So why do they care now? Why is now the time for this?
They finally got the big clients, I guess.
Okay, so they have something to lose.
Yeah.
All right, and what are they concerned about losing?
Their money, their business, their recognition as an official entity.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they grinded long enough to turn this corner, and now there really is some risk, because like, when you have nothing, you have no risk because you have nothing to lose. All right, so why does that matter? Why do they not want to get sued tomorrow for everything that they've worked so hard for?
Because, well, in my world, it's because it's their baby, you know, like it's attached to them. And as it grows, it tends to be something they care about more and more.
Why?
I see how this line of Angelica questioning is going. Yeah, you're right. Like it's part of their income. It's part of their livelihood. It's part of how they take care of their family. These are all speculations, by the way, not for the
Sure.
client.
Well, but the thing is, like, when you identify the reason for the right person, you're going to talk to that reason and you're going to weed out other people. So, like, look, there are genuinely some people that truly are motivated by money. It's so few and far between.
Okay.
Most people don't actually care about money. They care that money is a status symbol. They care that money lets them buy freedom. They care that money lets them do fun things. So, like, from this standpoint, you know, are they worried about the business being their baby because they need to take care of it, because they care about their employees, because they want to leave a legacy, because they have a family that the business is now putting money on the table to cover the family and they don't want to risk that?
A
Like,
lot of them just care about their work. They care about it, like they're attached to their passion, whether it's art or, you know, whether it's, you know, physical art, performing art, or, you know, a business that helps others. It's the attachment to that, it feels like.
sure.
I haven't
And
seen surveys, I don't know.
well, but and then like so psychologically speaking, humans have what's called loss aversion. Like if I gave you $100 and then or you lost $100, the losing $100 feels so much worse than the finding or winning $100 feels better. So like, what is the loss? Like, and just poke at that loss. You know, you don't want your business to be a failure. You don't want to have to go get a 9-to-5 job. You don't want your family to not be able to, you don't want to be able to not afford to send your kid to a better school because you can't afford the tuition on it because your business is getting sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, try to find that legitimate pain point of why they actually care to do this and speak to that and design your stuff around solving that issue. Because the more that you know what that is, the easier it is to speak to. Like the business owner who everybody told them they'd be a failure and they just need to have a giant business and exit with some crazy buyout so they can prove everybody wrong is a different pain point than the person who's like, if this business closes down, my kid doesn't get braces, you know, food isn't on the table, we can't travel, I've got a sick parent I can't take care of. Like, you're going to get a very different person for those things. So the more that you figure out who you're working with, the more you figure out what their problem really is, and then you speak to that pain point in a way that you can actually address it. Like, that's the biggest thing for me is this isn't being manipulative because you're not bait and switching them. You're
Right.
really focusing your knowledge base on solving the problem they truly have. So now you're going to convince them why you're the best fit because you know why they're actually doing this.
Thanks for that. That was good.
No problem, man. It's all it's like the flywheel that Jim Collins talks about. Like the more you have all this stuff tied together, the easier it is to just spin that marketing wheel and get the business going because you differentiate yourself by targeting a different kind of person, by offering them what they're actually looking for, by talking to them about what they truly care about.
So,
And it's wild when you have this going correctly.
for example, providing evidence of something like current issues with artists' works being stolen by AI
Sure.
would be something. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what the recourse is, but assuming there's something they can do to have a recourse against it, then great.
Well, not much when you don't have a copyright registration, and even then, it's hard to find a firm to take your case. So yeah, that's pretty much what my pitch is on. You get statutory damages and attorney's fees when you have a registration, and provided the registration was done after, or the infringement was done after the registration. I think that's a pretty good selling point as a lawyer.
Sooner's better.
Right. So okay.
What, and I mean, let's go slightly deeper. Unless anybody else wants to jump in.
Yeah, please, someone save me. No, I'm kidding. I really
Okay.
appreciate this.
How much are you charging them?
For copyright stuff, it depends on their work. If it's just a short film, like $500, you know, if it's a picture, around the same. If it's something more complex or regular, I've floated the idea of subscriptions because I haven't gotten anything that big
Sure.
yet. But like, you know, like a content creator, hey, pay me $500 a month to register all of your content you've created this month,
Yeah.
plus whatever government fees are associated with that, right?
And what's the
then-
statutory fee?
oh, sorry, my computer's shutting down on me. What was that? Sorry.
What's the statutory fee that they're entitled to for a violation?
So that is again dependent on the work itself. So you're saying market on that?
Well, I mean, like, so are we talking $25,000? Are we talking $5,000? Are we talking $200,000?
There could be like up to, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you've ever
Okay.
seen a little like FBI copyright warning before
Yeah.
film stuff, that's pretty much the range they're going with. Plus, those are criminal punishments too, right? So
I mean, so sounds for $500 to have the peace of mind that your work is protected from being stolen. And if it is stolen, oh man, you're going to cash a check. And the sooner you do this, the sooner you have the protection that you need to keep your hard-earned art valuable, to continue doing what you're doing, to continue to stand out from AI and all the competition.
And that's if you win the bad lottery of someone infringing you in the first place, right? So
well, or you have, or the peace of mind that it's
Yeah.
protected, that there's something you can do. And then you got all those funny stories like the gorilla or orangutan that took a picture of itself, and then who owned the rights to that based upon the camera, based upon the animal. I mean, like you've got legitimately interesting stories I think you could share about who owns this, who has the rights to this. You had Marvel using the AI generation for Secret Invasion. You've got a lot of news jacking opportunities to stay relevant at a specific time with a specific issue.
Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. And I hope that was helpful for everybody else. Just swap out the answers to your answers. But I mean, that's the same thought process. All right. So we talked about this a little bit in the ideal client avatar sheet. Why me? Why my firm? I want to touch on this briefly. In a very high level view, there are 3 stages to marketing. There is awareness, there is consideration, and there is intent. So I am aware that your firm exists or aware there is a solution to my problem. I am considering if I want to move forward, and if so, with what firm. And now I have the intent to hire somebody right then and there. So Google ads where somebody went to the internet and typed in, I need a criminal defense lawyer now, that's going to be intent. They have the intent to hire somebody ASAP. They probably don't care about awareness and consideration. They need to hire somebody now. Whereas a giant billboard on a major highway that talks about a personal injury firm, that's more awareness. Like, hey, if you're in an accident, I am here. There are different things that need to be done across every stage. You don't have to do things in every stage. It's just really helpful for me to think about ads in awareness, consideration, and intent. If you need money tomorrow, you want to look at intent ads. You don't want to be running a billboard campaign if you need cases tomorrow. At the same token, if nobody knows that they have this problem, like the Camp Lejeune stuff or the 3M earpieces and stuff, if they don't know that they were open to something, like they can't have the intent to hire somebody until they become aware of what it is. So for you all, like for criminal defense, I think it's easy. They were arrested. There's a case, like they're aware that something's happening to them. For IP though, they may not be aware of all the opportunities they have, whether that's how to protect themselves, whether that's what to do if somebody steals from them. And then from an environmental standpoint, you probably have some people that don't know they were exposed to something or don't know what rights they have or don't know what opportunity they have to speak up as the government's deciding something or the city or, whoever it is. So like, you got to really think through these stages in terms of if your client's going to come in on one of them, and if so, which one, and make sure you're talking to that. Organic social media, so like what you randomly see in your feed, awareness is going to be really tough because the algorithm probably doesn't know that you have this problem. It's really good for consideration and intent though. Like you follow this law firm for a while. Autumn talked about the artist with the newsletter. Like you follow those people. So you're considering what album to buy, what concert to go to, something along those lines. And then them having the emails to you are helpful to make that decision. So why are you the best fit for them? And don't get me wrong, I still want you, when you do talk to the client, to vet if they're a good fit for you. This is not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. But right now, you need to get them in that position for you to be able to have that conversation with them, screen them as a client. Like you got to get them in the door to decide if you actually want to take their case. If they never figure out why they want you, you don't have the opportunity to help them. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So I very infrequently is it one piece of advertising for a client. Even if it's a Google ad, they're going to click the ad, they're going to go somewhere, they're going to reach out to you. So like, what do I want them to do after they see this? And that could be like, what do I want them to do after I meet them at a networking event? What do I want them to do after they see a social media post? What do I want them to do after they get my mailer in the mail? What's the call to action? What's the CTA? Are they following you? Are they booking a call? Are they downloading a white paper? Are they referring me business? Excuse me. Are you meeting up for coffee? You went to some 100-person bar event and you talked to 3 people that you really like that you want to connect with more because, you can mutually help the same people. Are you booking a coffee? Are you booking a lunch? Are you booking a happy hour? Are you going to play golf? Like what do I want this person to do next? After we meet, after they see the ad, after they see my post, after they watch my video, after they see the billboard, like whatever it is, there's always going to be a next step. Or I should say, there's always going to be something else they have to do to hire you. And the flip side, what do I do next? What do I have to do next? The last time I saw this, I think this was Clio Trends 2019. Should probably update this. 68% of lawyers never follow up with leads. They have one point of contact and that's it. They call the firm. There's no callback. There's no follow through. They reach out. They do the consultation. That's it. Whereas studies have found 92% of sales happen after the 5th point of contact. I've heard up to 27 points of contact. Just for the sake of not going nuts, let's assume, 5 points of contact. So how do you bridge that gap? So this is my 8 steps to how somebody becomes a client. There is an ad. It could be advertising. It could be a post. It could be a billboard. It could be a website. It could be them clicking on something. It could be them meeting you at an event. It could be them talking to their best friend who told them to go out and hire you. They're going to then go somewhere to your website, maybe to a landing page. They're at least, I don't care who gives you the referral. My wife tells me she loves a restaurant. I'm still going online and looking at reviews. There's some sort of place that they're going. They're typing your firm name into Google. They're typing your name. They're looking at your website. They're doing something to consider that next step, or the ad sent them to a landing page. That's what they have to do. Now they can contact your firm. They can contact your firm with a contact form, name, phone number, email, tell me about your situation. There's something to get them in the door, or they might just straight call the office. You have some amount of interaction with them, some amount of follow-up. They come to a consultation or a strategy session or a review meeting or whatever you call it. At that point, you send them a contract and probably an invoice. For PI like me, there's no invoice. For environmental, I'm assuming they still pay some money in some way. Okay, so all of you have invoices. There's some amount of follow-up afterwards, or they hire you immediately, then great, you can skip this step. If not, there's some amount of follow-up, and then hopefully, if they're the right fit, they're a great client, they hire you. You need to make sure you have all of these boxes covered, because this, to be fair, this isn't really marketing, this is sales. But like, I don't want you spending a ton of money or a ton of time marketing, and then you can't answer your phone, you can't get somebody to hire you. You're wasting all the networking time, you're wasting all the money. So like, what do you need to do next to get them to become a client? Because right here, this has no value to you. The ad is sort of worthless to you. It might actually be negative value because now you have time spent vetting the client and talking to them. It's not until they hire and pay you in some way that you have legitimate, tangible value, which, to be fair, in a great marketing and sales process, sometimes people will not hire you and that will teach you a lot and it's worth it. But most of the time you need to get them to this point, this hired spot, to make money, to stay in business, to be able to pay for your family, to be able to protect yourself, to have a successful, thriving law practice, just like we talked with Mike about for some of his clients. It's the same for a lot of us. So how do you bridge those gaps? An email trip. So I'm glad, Autumn, you brought this up earlier. I am a big fan. This is Jordan Ostroff's opinion. You can take it or leave it. Before they do a consultation, I am telling them to hire a lawyer, or I'm telling them why they need to hire a lawyer and in what circumstances. So for PI, sure, you can handle your case yourself. Even the studies done by the insurance company have found you get on average 50 to 60% more money when you hire a lawyer. So yeah, I'm going to take 33 to 40%, but if you get 50 or 60% more, it's still better for you. You still make more money and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry about a lot of it. You just focus on getting treatment. So I am telling them the benefits of hiring a lawyer. For criminal defense and for IP, anything where there's like, where sooner is better, let them know, hey, like, is there a famous story of an IP situation where somebody waited a week to file this patent or trademark, and in that week, somebody sold their idea and now they're not entitled to it? For criminal defense, body cam footage will get overridden, security footage will disappear, witnesses will become harder to find. Like, why now? Hire a lawyer, hire one now, hire a lawyer, hire one now. And then after the consult, now I'm telling them why it should be me. Here's our great reviews. Here's why we're the best fit for you. Here's why our firm's the best. Again, that's Jordan Ostroff opinion. If you disagree with me, that's totally fine. That's been successful for me and a lot of my clients. Before the consult, the follow-up is about why they need to hire a lawyer and why they need to do it now. Afterwards, and why it has to be you. Because now they've met you. They have a little bit more benefit. Not hard and fast 100% on those, but like a good way to think about it most of the time. 2, retarget them. The internet is an amazing invention for so many reasons. But ultimately, if somebody comes to your website, you can bug the heck out of them across the internet forever. If any of you have never heard of something and then you checked it out on a website and now you see it everywhere on the internet, that's retargeting ads. And they're awesome because they're cheaper and they're more effective. So that's, when somebody clicks on your website and now they're surfing Facebook and your ads come up and now they're on doing their Wordle and you're the ad that comes up before you can do Wordle, whatever it is, like you can retarget them across the entire internet really easily. And it's awesome. From a referral standpoint, this is like staying in touch with them. This is not booking that one lunch and then never seeing them for 3 years. It's sending them emails that matter to them in between. It's texting them to check in. It's doing other events, like getting back in front of people. And you can do this in very different ways for very different reasons. So you can, they clicked on one of your blogs, you can send them other blogs on a similar topic. You win an award, you can hit them up about the great award. You have a big verdict or good news, send that information through. You practice you do other practice areas. They clicked on your IP stuff. You can send them business information. Like you can retarget them everywhere about a bunch of different things. It's great. And it's a great way to stay in touch or stay on top of their mind or push them over the edge to hire you when you're the right fit, when they truly need you, when you know you're the best fit for them, that kind of stuff. And then stay consistent. I hate it on the very few times that I see a really good ad on social media. And then I happen to click and go to that. Usually it's a restaurant for me. And then the restaurant hasn't posted on Facebook in 4 years. I'm like, why are you running ads? You're not on this platform. You're not here. You don't do this. So like, if you're going to do that on ads, keep showing up. Don't make one social media post and expect that to get you clients. Show up consistently. If you're meeting with referral sources and you told them you would send them a book or this article, or you reach out to them the next day, do it, because all you have is your word. And if you don't honor your word with them, how do they know you're going to honor your word with clients? And sure, I'd like to think it's more important when it's clients, but like subconsciously, I remember the people that no-showed on me because they calendared incorrectly or didn't do the thing they said they would do, and I don't send them business. It's just human nature. If you show up to an event, like don't expect to show up to BNI or a Chamber of Commerce meeting once and get a bunch of business. Get more involved, be on a committee, show up consistently, be there. And the thing that's interesting for me, do I need to create blog posts? Not Ned, but maybe Ned needs to do it. Like one blog post isn't going to matter. And I go to websites and people run ads and they're trying to get SEO and you look at their blog section and they haven't posted a blog in 3 years. Like, why? I want you to be consistent with this stuff. And the crazy part is like, this sounds like it stinks, right? Like if you're doing SEO, you want cases tomorrow, but the more effort you have to put into these things, the better, because then the next person coming behind you can't knock all your work down in one day. I've got 100 and something referral sources across Orlando. You can't steal them from me overnight. It would take a long amount of time. If I'm ranking for SEO, you can't open up a new firm and in 3 weeks knock me off the first page of Google. Like the consistency is actually a good thing because it means you have a stronger relationship with this marketing channel, whether it's a person or a technology or whatever. You want to have to stay consistent because you don't want somebody else to dethrone you in 5 minutes. There's no reason for you to put in this amount of effort if it's going to change that much. Make sense? Slightly counterintuitive, but once you get where you want to be, you want to build that moat around you to try and stop other people from taking your space. All right. Any questions so far before we get to the questions I intentionally left off the 7 important ones? All right. These are the 3 most common questions that I don't care about in the slightest. I want you to actively avoid these questions. What is, insert any other name, doing for their marketing? This is the most asked question on the lawyer internet, on every Facebook group, and it's literally the worst question that you could ask. Who has had a great experience doing pay-per-click? Hey, the guy down the street from me has billboards. Should I get billboards too? Like, these are the worst questions because I have no idea what your ideal, if you have the same ideal client, if you have the same sales team, if you have the same offering, if you have the same price point, then maybe somebody else's marketing matters, but nobody ever fills out that information and nobody ever reaches out enough or gets involved enough to know. So like I see this, especially in Orlando. I don't know what it's like for you all. There will be firms that will pop up on a billboard campaign for 6 months and then you never hear from them again. Why? Because they saw the Morgan & Morgans and the Dan Newlands and the giant firms in town have billboards and they thought, that's what makes a firm big. What they don't realize is those firms did so much marketing to get such a baseline of cases, to have a 100-person call center, to take the calls on, to go through all this stuff. And then, and only then, after all that stuff, did they put up, the cherry on top of the billboard, Like the billboard is the crowning achievement of their growth, not the reason for it. So what another lawyer is doing for marketing, I don't care about, and you should not care about at all unless you know enough to know it's the same client for the same reasons, for the same price, for the same size, or very similar. Anybody want to disagree with me on that or have more questions about that? Because like this is the biggest mistake people make right now, right there. All right. 2, would I follow this ad? Do I like this ad? Does it appeal to me? I don't care. For my coaching company, this question's fine because I am the ideal client. For my law firm, don't get me wrong, I love our logo. It's our logo. I mean, our logo is awesome. It's a road in the shape of a heart for personal injury for driven law. So like I like our logo, but we do a lot of things for marketing that aren't my thing. Like I'm proud to stand behind them, not being skeezy and scummy. But like if I got into a car accident, I would be the worst client because I never want to go to the doctor for any reason. Like you could stab me in the leg with a fork and I would be like, I'll walk it off. It's fine. It's got tetanus on it. I'll figure it out. Like I'm not the kind of person who's going to go to a chiropractor 3 times a week, who's going to get injections, who's like, it's not me. So the ads and the wording that we use to be nice and supportive of people as they go through the situation is not what I want to hear because I'm not the ideal client. So do I like this ad? I don't care unless you are your ideal client. And I think, Mike, you mentioned this, like, you're sort of guessing on some of these things. Don't be afraid to ask clients. So, sit with somebody and be like, hey, why did you hire me? What did you like about us? What can we do differently? When you guys download at the end of this, when you download the slides and the ideal client avatar sheet, the second page directly on that, like go to prior clients or think through what prior clients gave you feedback on, because it's if they would click on this ad, it's if they would follow this social media account, it's if they would respond to this mailer. It's if they would, go to this referral source for questions. And then third, how much does it cost? I don't care. And you don't care either. No one cares what anything costs. They care about the value that they get from it. If I could promise you that you gave me $1, I'd give you $3 back in 6 months without you doing any work, you would find a lot of money to give me to get the 3x return in 6 months because you don't care about the cost. If I told you it cost $1 million, but I will give you $3 million, 100% guaranteed in 6 months, you would find a way to get $1 million. Same for your clients. So I don't care what the marketing costs. I care about what you need to do it right. If you have a $500 budget and one click on Google costs you $300, you probably can't run a pay-per-click campaign because you can get 1 or maybe 2 clicks per month, and that's just not enough to determine whether or not your ad is any good. If you only get 5 cases a year and they come from 5 different people, I don't care what it costs for you to join one organization if it's those 5 people. And every one of those cases is a $100,000 case, and it's $1,000 to join this organization or $5,000. I don't care. Like if that's where these cases are going to come from, you're going to figure it out. So cost is one of the last things to consider. You just want to make sure you have enough to do it right. Like with social media, not being on 17 different platforms if it's just you. Find the 1, find the 2 that you can commit to, that you have the time, that you have the money, that you have the energy to actually do right. That's when I care about cost. It's only after you've figured out what options you have available do you use cost to weed it down. Don't go into it, what does it cost from the beginning? Doesn't matter. If it's right, it'll be worth the cost, but you need to figure that out. Questions? All right. You go through this, you run these questions, you run your ad, and it doesn't go where you want it to go. So I think these are the 7 most common reasons. I'd like to tell you these 7 reasons will cover all 100% of the reasons why it doesn't work. Such is not the case. Luck plays a role in life, whether you believe it or not, and what extent it does, I don't know that anybody knows, but these 7 things will figure 85, 90% of the issues. So 1, you don't know your audience. You're saying the wrong thing. You're saying it in the wrong place. You don't have the right ad. You didn't spend the right money to put it in the right place. You didn't spend it in the right time. It's not the right color. It's not the right lingo. You're not in the right place. You're not showing up in the right place. You're not showing up consistently enough. You're not being there. You don't have the right call to action. You're asking for too big of a commitment. It's you run one ad on social media and want them to pay $5,000 for your services with nothing in between. Like that's not the right call to action. You're just asking people to follow you and you never tell anybody what you actually sell. Not the right call to action. You have a poor sales process, which remember we talked about that a couple slides ago with the 8 stages of a sales process. So you have good marketing, but you're losing people somewhere in the sales process. They can't e-sign a thing. They can't book a consultation with you within 3 weeks. They can't, you've got some other hiccup. You've got a bad website or a bad landing page. They're clicking the ad and they don't like what they see. You've got terrible reviews online, or you don't have any reviews, or you got them an ad for your great work in criminal defense. They go to your website and the top header says, great family law attorney. It's just not consistent. And then you're not spending enough time, money, and effort. I lost the T on it. So like if you are doing SEO and you've been trying to get blog posts and stuff up for 30 days and you're not seeing a return, that's not enough time. It's not enough money. It's not enough energy put into having it work. The problem that stinks is you can really use this one, the not enough time, money, energy, to do things that don't work for a much longer period of time, such as many people have said, half of your marketing is meaningless. We just don't know which half. Or I think maybe it was Mark Twain, or it's attributed to him. Half of what we know is not true. We just don't know which half. So like you can waste a lot more time, money, and energy trying to make sure you put enough into a campaign or a strategy. I don't know what to tell you. I would look through the other 6 and see if something stands out to you immediately. And if nothing stands out on the other 6, that's where I would start looking at. Maybe I'm not giving it enough time, but some things are just never going to work. Unfortunately, we just don't know what they are until we've gone long enough. Questions about if it doesn't work? Okay, so if you want to cheat, you can get these slides here. This slide 25 and 26, has all the 7 questions in one shot. So you can go back through for every marketing campaign, for every strategy you want. Who am I trying to market to? Where are they? What's the best way to talk to them? What problem am I really solving? Why me? What do I want them to do next? And what do I need to do next? And again, this could be for referral sources. So I am trying to market to people that own drug rehab facilities, right? Where are they? They're at their facilities, and then there's the Colorado Drug Rehabilitation Group that they're all getting together in. What's the best way to talk to them? They're old school. They like shaking hands and kissing babies and being in person. What problem are they solving? I am helping make them look good by lowering their recidivism rate from it. I don't, why me? Because I only take drug cases, because I was a drug addict myself, because I was a prosecutor in the drug unit, like whatever the reason is. And I'm not a drug addict. That was hypothetical. Just like whatever the reason is, why you? What do I want them to do next? I went to this conference. I gave out a bunch of business cards. I want them to reach out to me. I want to host a booth at the next one. I want to get them on my podcast. So what do I need to do next? I got their card. I emailed them. I set up a dinner before the conference. I've got a Topgolf membership I invited them to. I'm on some board that I think they'd be interested in sitting in on one of our meetings, or us giving them an award for one of our events for the best nonprofit of the year. I don't know. There's 1,000 potential answers to these questions. The more you think about them, the easier it is to say no to bad marketing opportunities. And the easier it is to then focus more and spend more money or more time or more energy on the ones that make more sense for your ideal client or your ideal referral source.
Can I ask you a question on that, Jordan?
Absolutely. In fact, you can ask me 2.
Well, this is the second one. I've had a slew of those like third-party marketing firms for lawyers call me, and I don't know if anyone speak up if anyone else has had this problem, but I've just heard horrible things from other folks. And you said don't ask how other people market. So I guess given your experience and your expertise here, are those the people you want referrals from? They require monthly payments regardless, and there's no guarantee, even though they say there's a guarantee.
When you like a marketing company calls you and they want to do marketing for you, or they want to sell you leads or something like that.
Sell leads, yeah.
Cool.
I keep getting those.
So I want you to go through these 7 questions and see what makes sense. Is your ideal client the kind of person that's going to do .randomipissues.com and then going to California and then putting in, I need a lawyer, or California, Colorado, and I need a lawyer? Like, is your ideal client going to go through the process of how they're getting leads? Because for some of, yes, like there are plenty of PI firms that are paying like $1,550 a case and resolving cases for $15,000 on average. So potentially, I personally am so against any spam or any cold calls. I will not hire you. So I want to be very clear, because you said something, I said, don't ask other people. That wasn't my point.
Right.
If you got here and you came to the point where you said, hey, I'm looking to buy IP leads in this area for this, then, and at that point, I might go to a Facebook group, a lawyer group, and say, hey, who has had success with this marketing strategy with, that meets my 7 questions? I don't have a problem with that. I just think everybody, their first question becomes, what's so-and-so doing? Because they look successful, and they skip these questions, and now they're completely marketing the wrong way. Or, I mean, I have a buddy who rolled out a $200,000 billboard campaign without asking me a question. and then contacted me afterwards and was like, I can't answer the phone as much as it rings. And I was like, yeah, bro, sorry. I would have told you that if it's successful or it's not, and too successful is also a problem. So
Yeah, they were cold calls to me. I didn't
yeah,
originally go out to it, and I was like, well, they obviously found my name. I almost wanted to ask them how they are using their marketing because I don't want to do what they do. You know?
correct.
Yeah.
Because we can't cold call people. We can't solicit. So if your entire sales strategy is revolving around you cold calling other firms, are you going to spend more money learning the best tactics for cold calling, or are you going to spend the best tactics learning how you can market for me ethically?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you pointing me in the right direction on that. And sorry about my child there. She was screaming at me and I had to pick her up.
Not a problem, man. If you didn't, it would be a catastrophe. So
You have some great puns. Keep it up.
thank you. I had a child so I could make dad jokes. Just kidding. Although he's 6 and now makes dad jokes back to me. All right. Anything about these 7 questions? We've got 18 more minutes. You will definitely get out on time. I want to make sure I answer any questions before we go to the last slide, because the last slide I'm going to have you do something. Okay, cool. So you're going to take out your phone. You're going to wave it in front of this QR code. It's going to take you to a website form. You're going to put in your name and email, and then you're going to get an email from me. It has the slides that you see here. It has the ideal client avatar sheet. It has a 20-page how to make a marketing plan that you can go through in more detail. And it has a document on questions to ask marketing companies before you sign up with them for digital marketing that I think is 3 pages from Jay Ruane, because he was nice enough to share that with a bunch of people. And Lauren was nice enough to tell me that might be something that would be helpful to you all. So the marketing plan and the questions to ask a marketing company, you can thank Lauren for getting you those freebies in here. You then, I think, will also get my newsletter every Friday. Feel free to unsubscribe, but at least this way you've got the slides, you've got the other stuff. Questions, comments, concerns, things I can do to help you in 17 minutes or less. All right, cool. Look, I am here. I used to run a marketing company for lawyers. I no longer do. I have nothing to sell you from that standpoint. I help lawyers get out of the day-to-day and into more of a CEO type role. Potentially that's something of interest to you all later, but in the meantime, like, I love answering marketing questions. So if you email them to me, or I've got a Facebook group, Solutions for Lawyers by Lawyers. There's like 1,600 of us in there. If you want to ask, if you go through these 7 questions and you want a company that will sell you leads for IP in your area, it's a great place to post about it. You'll get some really good answers from some amazing attorneys that are nice enough to give some time and mentorship at a digital scale. Otherwise, I'm here. There's Jordan Ock. There's only 2 of us. The other one's a salesperson in Boston. I'm the one in the Hawaiian shirt. You can find me on any social media platform under my name or Lawyer with a Life.
Thank you, Jordan, so much. I always learn a lot every time I see this presentation. So thank you for sharing it. And folks, I will reiterate, please do reach out to Jordan if you have questions along the way, and take advantage of the materials he's providing, because they are pretty phenomenal. So with that, unless anybody has any questions or comments, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Last call.
Thanks.
Yeah, Autumn.
I had a little bit of a question. I have this reoccurring kind of problem where I go to marketing. They're not marketing events, but they're like social events or they're educational events. And I meet people and people are like, yeah, this is great. I may know somebody. And then it just kind of like fizzles. And it seems to be almost like a theme in things, like I don't get that like true referral, and I just, it might be me, like maybe I'm not following up in the right way, but it does happen where I get like this kind of like warm reception, especially in in-person events. And then there's just too much time has passed and it never manifests into like, an actual speaking engagement or like true referral. And it's just like, how do I really like capture that warmth in kind of like a not too aggressive way that would send them away? But obviously what I'm doing is too passive. I don't know. It's kind of a broad question.
No, that's a great question. What are you doing currently?
Like in terms of like following up with them?
Yes.
Like sometimes I'll send like, like a thank you email. A lot of times I'm waiting for them to like reach out and that doesn't happen. And then I don't send the thank you email because I'm like, well, it's too much time has passed. This is already cold and it may not be cold. Yeah. So
it sounds like, so look, some people are full of poop and they will tell you wonderful things in person and then do nothing after. But it sounds like you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table for you to do something about it as well. So like, I will tell you, I don't keep business cards on me anymore. I can't tell you the last time I handed out a business card. I don't want to give you my business card because I don't know if you're going to follow up. But if I don't have a business card and you actually care, you're going to give me your business card, or we'll text each other or send an email right then and there or something. But once I have your info, I can follow up. And like, I am a 3 strikes you're out kind of person. So I'll follow up. Maybe I'll send a thank you note. Like, so the thing that I showed you with our logo, these are thank you cards that sit on my desk. If anybody does anything for me, I send them a handwritten card because nobody gets mail that's nice. Everything's a bill or a spam. So like, it was
True.
so nice seeing you at blah, blah, blah event, and thanks for lunch, whatever. And hopefully there's some story in there, some memory, some callback you can throw in on it. And then, they've got my contact info and website on the back of the card. But like, I'll follow up 3 times. It's an email, it's a card, it's a text, it's something. And then if people aren't interested 3 times, so be it. And don't get me wrong, I'll have like, people will reach out to you like a weirdly later time. You will do 3 touch points in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then like 2 years later, I've gotten messages that were like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We met at blah, blah, blah. Like, I know you reached back out. I was such a jerk about it. I was going through whatever. I don't know, something crazy. And I'm like, okay, like what happened now? And they're like, I got in a car accident. Oh, I have a buddy who has a legal question, whatever. Like, what about this? All right, cool, fine. Like there was something in that moment. And it's probably I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt that was memorable versus every other lawyer. But like, you don't know what's just, you want to put as many lines out in the water that make sense. So like if going to those events makes sense, then have a good conversation with a handful of people at every one, send your follow-up emails and see what happens. If you go to a dozen of those events and you talk to 3 to 5 people every time and you send 3 emails afterwards and you get nothing, then you're probably in the wrong place. But until then, like you want to make sure you're doing what you can control, which is probably more follow-up.
Okay. I'll work on that. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and if it's, and look, I hope I'm funny. My dad puns got complimented. So like, if it's so long, if I forgot to message somebody and it's been so long, I'm like, can you believe it's been 2 months since we did blah, blah, blah? And like, maybe there's something I'm trying to think of, like, let's say we talked about baseball. I'll be like, oh, the team, played 40 games since the last time we saw each other. Can you believe, something like try to draw it back into some sort of an analogy? Like if you forgot me, no hard feelings, but like, let's do that coffee we said, let's go play golf or whatever and see what happens. And
Can you
sometimes
believe that litigation is still going on?
yeah, sure, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think that motion's been heard. It's been 60 days, but at the same time, I don't think that case has even been heard yet. So
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, no problem. That was a great question.